Can famed actor Ethan Hawke finally make a name for himself as a director? And is Ben Dickey a star on the rise with his debut performance as Ben Foley in this country biopic, Blaze?
Blaze is based on the life of country music legend Blaze Foley. This film is directed by Ethan Hawke and is co-written by him. He actually wrote it with Sybil Rosen, who was Ben Foley's real-life partner for a very long time, and it's based on her memoir. The film stars Ben Dickey in the title role. It also stars Alia Shawkat as Rosen, Charlie Sexton, Josh Hamilton, and a couple of surprises like Chris Christopherson and Sam Rockwell. Through the creative use of non-linear narrative, Blaze chronicles the life of Blaze Foley, separated into three stages: his life, along with his love interest, his life after his tumultuous breakup, and of course his life after his death. This bittersweet film is about a man's battle with his own pride and ego, and also his internal conflict between the love of his music and the love of the girl that got away.
This is a movie that right off the bat lets you know that this guy has some major issues and has almost, lost all his marbles, but as the movie goes into depth about, you get to see that it's more than just some guy who's always drunk. He has reasons for why he's, acting the way he does.
So even though the film doesn't really delve into his troubled background, and we really don't learn a whole lot about what causes his conflicted soul, what really hits center stage in this movie is the love story.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
It really does.
Yeah.
I mean, as far as love stories go, this feels really genuine, really authentic, really raw, and that's a testament to Dickey's and Alia's performance as Foley and Rosen.
Right.
Those scenes are really well crafted, and of course they're told in a flashback fashion by the Charlie Sexton character, who really tells that whole story in a very bittersweet fashion. And of course you have that great music playing constantly in the background.
Yeah, beautiful soundtrack.
Beautiful soundtrack. Really reminded me of some of the great musical picks like Once or Inside Llewyn Davis.
Yeah, going back to the love story, I mean, you talk about a movie that's really going to tug on your heartstrings. That's what this movie does especially well. You take a look at this dynamic between this guy who's down on his luck and this girl who's trying to also make it in the acting industry, and it's a really nice dynamic. This movie really talks about what is the real world. Like, for example, there's a line in there where they're like, well, we're going to try to make it in the real world, and then one of their friends says, well, what if this really is the real world? And he's talking about how they live in the forest.
Oh yeah, they live in a treehouse for a while.
Treehouse, yeah. Their happiest moment between Foley and Rosen is when they're together in the treehouse, and it's not until they start to try to actually conform to society or make it in the world,
or make it big in their desired fields, right? Him as a singer, her as an actress.
That's when things start to really get challenging for them and test their love.
There's even a really nice, memorable comment, and I can't remember the exact line, but the Foley character played by Dickey, he basically says something along the lines of, well, there's this force that's pulling me away from you, from his love interest.
His voice is in my head. The first thing that struck me about Ben Dickey's performance as Blaze Foley is how well he sang. I was like, wow, this guy has a really good voice. At our local theater, we got a chance to see him in a Q&A live in front of us, and then you start to find out he actually is a musician, is in a band, so it's very natural for him to play this role. For someone's debut performance, oh my God, did he knock it out of the park, man. This guy, I truly believe his star is on the rise for sure.
I think that Sundance gave him some recognition or some award.
Yeah, I think he was talking about that.
And I wouldn't be surprised if he received other nominations. He certainly is most deserving of them because, man, he seems really immersed in his performance.
Yes.
Like supernatural.
Yeah, you can tell he really went down the rabbit hole on this one in portraying this guy who's highly conflicted and just an overall beautifully dynamic performance. And another guy I want to mention is Charlie Sexton's performance too, as one of his guitar mates in the band that they weren't really in a band, but this group of musicians that
travel together, right?
Yeah, this guy Charlie Sexton is also a musician. He didn't really make his chops in acting, but man, man, does he put forth a really good performance of a guy who's wise, a veteran guy in the music industry, and if not for Ben Dickey's performance, I would say Charlie Sexton would have been easily the best actor in this movie.
There is a brief scene that brings back Chris Christopherson, who I hadn't seen in a role in a long time. But just in those few minutes that he appears in the movie, man, he gives a great performance, all with his eyes and his facial expressions. He doesn't have much dialogue, but man, he really he hit me.
He's portraying, you know, Blaze Foley's father as a guy who's dealing with Alzheimer's, dementia, and like you said, you know, that just shows what a great actor he is.
Great actor.
He had like basically 2 lines.
Yeah, that's it. And it was certainly a surprise to see Sam Rockwell, who won an Oscar last year for 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. And it was cool to see Richard Linklater in this film because, you know, he directs Ethan Hawke in a lot of films.
And you see some of his influence in this film.
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely.
Obviously the music takes center stage in this movie in terms of techniques. And we're not just talking about the insightful, resonating lyrics of Blaze Foley, but also just how beautifully Ben Dickey delivered the music.
That's right. Yeah, definitely. I love the way that the music sort of just lingers throughout the scenes, and it sometimes feels, you know, very soothing, but at times it also feels like a tad angry.
Well, that's blues for you.
A big chunk of this movie is a romance, so I thought that it was very appropriate that there were some filters that kind of gave it like a yellowish orange color.
Very 70s.
Yeah, slightly retro, I guess you could say. But then you also had a lot of nice, like, soft and rack focus to kind of build like a haze, a slightly out of focus image, which of course is kind of appropriate for romantic films. And then of course you also had great use of close-ups for those very intimate scenes between these 2 lovers.
Yeah, definitely. So that, coupled with the period attire, really thrust you into the 70s and 80s. I definitely think this is a huge milestone for Ethan Hawke, as this was a really enjoyable movie with some compelling characters.
That's right.
You know, the one question I thought it really broached was what means more, right? And that can hit all these different areas of your life. And so in this movie, it talks about what means more, you know, your craft, your skill, you know, or the woman you love, the woman of your dreams. It also talks about, you know, should you live by conventions and rules, or should you just be a free spirit and, you know, enjoy life and just kind of, you know, live by the seat of your pants.
Very well said, man. Absolutely.
Yeah. But that said, not a perfect movie. I kind of felt like it dragged at points, especially with this overload of philosophy and everyone espousing about life, and it just kind of got to me after a while. You know, I appreciated it, but just a little too much. And Foley, as self-destructive as he was, it kind of wore on me, and I just felt after a while that it was hard to get behind this protagonist. But hey, this is still a must-watch movie, and I will give this 4 solid reels out of 5.
Okay, 4 solid reels. I agree with you about the pacing of this film. There were a couple of times where I felt like some scenes could have been maybe cut. There were a few moments that dragged, but that being said, I think that perhaps Hawke probably did that to kind of make the viewer feel like they were in the moment with these characters, and so I felt that that was necessary to make the movie feel, again, real. Like you're kind of like a fly on the wall, just kind of like watching their story unfold.
But it's such a long movie, though.
You know, I know, but I think that that's again, a lot of indie films are like that. Again, I really liked being in the moment with these characters. I like the authenticity of the film, and Ben Dickey's performance, you know, I can't speak highly enough of his performance. So for me, I'm going to go slightly above your grade and give it 4.5 reels because it's not an instant classic, but I think it's a Hawke masterpiece, and I hope that Ben Dickey gets the recognition he deserves.
Yeah, you guys should definitely watch this movie, guys. And after you watch the movie, as always, let us know in the comments below what you think. Is this Ethan Hawke's moment to shine as a director? And Ben Dickey, will we be hearing more of him?
I hope so. And of course, if you like our reviews, don't forget to hit that subscribe and bell button. And as always, tune in for our real take on movies.
Will famed actor Ethan Hawke finally make a name for himself as an actor? And is Ben Dickey a star in The Rising? What the did I do wrong?
You just
what did I say?
Will he finally make his name as an actor?
Will famed actor Ethan Hawke finally make a name for himself as an actor and is... I did it again!